On the occasion of NATO Extraordinary Leaders Summit, let me express especially how happy, how pleased I am to be here with you. With NATO Secretary General uh, Stoltenberg's leadership, this extraordinary summit took place, and I would like to thank to him for this on behalf of my nation and extend my personal gratitude for the resilient leadership that my dear friend Stoltenberg showed. Is a reason for me to congratulate him wholeheartedly and also for the extension of the term. I also would like to congratulate and appreciate the Belgian authorities for their successful and sincere hospitality. Not only the European security architecture, but the world security perception is going through a radical change. The Ukrainian-Russian war has left the first month behind as of today. To evaluate the current measures as well as the most recent developments, we met as leaders. On February 25th, a summit was carried out through video conferencing, and after this, the fact that NATO gave another message of solidarity and unity is meaningful. Since 2014 to our date, Turkey has always strongly supported Ukraine's territorial integrity and sovereignty, as everybody knows. We, in every chance, expressed that we do not recognize Crimea's annexation, and we continue reiterating that. On the occasion of the summit, we once again very strongly stressed out the strong support that Turkey has for Ukraine's territorial integrity. Our attitude towards Russia's attack on Ukraine is in coherence with our policies and is clear. The tragedy the war caused is clear to see. Hospitals in rubble, cities damaged, homes, and in devastated way, many refugees displaced, innocent children suffering in fear, once again reminded us all the terrifying face of wars. And this image is causing very heavy traumas, the traces of which will not be disappearing for many more years to come. The conflicts are on the rise, and this also correlates with the heavy damage of the war on both sides. Turkey has a very unique position in terms of its location as well as its membership to NATO. Ukraine and Russia, first things first, are our neighbor countries by the Black Sea. With Ukraine, we have a well-rooted, multi-dimensional and multi-perspective-oriented relations as well as strategic partnership. With another neighbor, Russia, we do show care to be in constructive and effective dialogue. As a country that, in a way, carried the burden of the war by our borders in Syria for many years, we try our best to end the war. To end the war, we are in a very busy contact with both countries. We closely follow the negotiations ongoing in between both parties, and we support the negotiation process. To facilitate the negotiation process, we have so far taken many steps. In Antalya, we brought the foreign ministers together, and besides, my foreign minister had contacts in Moscow as well as Lviv, which was a turning point. The final solution should be accepted by the international community, and we believe that it is supposed to be based on a formula that is based on common sense, and the liberty and independence of Ukraine should be a priority. And we, with a cautious optimism, we consider certain progress covered. From the beginning of the war, we in the Black Sea, to de-escalate the tension, have been using the priorities the mandate upon us by the Montreux Convention, and we do everything we can for humanitarian assistance. We have so far sent 56 trucks of humanitarian aid to the region, and we will continue to do so. More than 63,000 people, including Ukrainians, were helped to leave the conflict regions. And the number of the people who transited to Turkey has almost come to the figure of 60,000. And we will continue sending all the humanitarian assistance to Ukraine. AFAD and Turkish Red Crescent, like official authorities, as well as our NGOs, are working with a lot of self-sacrifice in the field, despite all risks and threats. We do represent the kindness and also the spirit of solidarity of our nation, and I would like to thank to all our institutions for that. The European Union Security Organization, with that, we also evacuated many Ukrainians over Russia. Turkey has been hosting almost 5 million refugees almost over the past 10 years, and we very much well understand the challenges that our friends are facing now. In terms of embracing refugees, the international society has not been very successful, as we know, based on our past experiences. Eye colors, religions, beliefs, languages, cultures of people cannot be used for discrimination, and we strongly condemn that. Starting with the EU, everyone should support the refugees that end up at their gates and should shoulder responsibility. What makes us human, what differentiates us from other living beings, is our ability, our sensitivity for the sufferings of others, our feelings to empathize, to sympathize. For 11 years, we have been witnessing the challenges of our Syrian brothers and sisters and what our Ukrainian brothers and sisters have been going through over the past month, and there's no guarantee that this will not happen to anybody else in the world. With our understanding of civilization, which considers the created the most valuable, without any discrimination, we will continue standing with all those in need. Distinguished members of press, we expressed our active and principled politics and also effective diplomatic efforts in a very comprehensive fashion with our counterparts at this summit. In the face of the threats, the alliance's possible action also was what we exchanged opinions about. In the current atmosphere of war, NATO continues supporting Ukraine practically. However, it is a condition for it to act with a realistic and practical fashion. The decisions made at the summit are based on to further strengthen NATO's deterrence and also defense structure. We underlined that the alliance is not in a structure that will be posing threats to other third parties and Russia. To protect the allies, the indivisibility principle of the security was what we drew attention to in particular. 360 degrees security understanding is the main principle I underlined. And this, starting with anti-terrorism, our national priorities and sensitivities were what we expressed for our counterparts, our allies. Turkey takes the spirit of alliance as a sense and will continue to support NATO's deterrence and defense actions. We expect the same from our allies. As the success of Turkish defense industry products is clear to see, the blockages or preventions we may encounter can never be reasoned. by our allies, some restrictions placed in front of our defense industry is to be lifted as we wish, let alone practicing hidden or open embargoes. The talks about those even should not be brought to attention or agenda. And I shared my concerns with my allies very clearly. In June, at the NATO summit to take place in Madrid, the talks held today will be a crucial milestone. In Madrid, the future of the alliance will be shaped, and many decisions that will carry NATO to the forthcoming years is now in the making. Of course, all these decisions will be putting the strategic concept of NATO in the foreground. In the past of NATO and at its current day, Turkey has a voice and also contributions, and Turkey as well has a say in its future. From the beginning of the war on, you know how much of a busy traffic of diplomacy we have been engaged in. Since the beginning of the war, we had a very comprehensive, very detailed talks with my counterparts. I exchanged opinions with many of our allies. And today we also had many talks, and also I met the president of France and also the prime ministers of Italy, Estonia, and many other leaders, and also heads of government and state. And in those talks with my counterparts, we rather addressed the developments ongoing in Ukraine. We also exchanged opinions and negotiated about our bilateral relations. With the EU leaders on this occasion, we also talked about the possible starting of the updating of customs union and also accessions of Turkey to the EU, as well as visa liberalization and flexibility in the process. We also addressed the joint defense and security structures developed by the Union, and the fact and our expectation that Turkey is also to be included into that process. And as well, we talked about the restructuring of the organizations that ensure global security. From Syria to Libya, from Yemen to the war in Ukraine most recently, and all the crises we have been observing, we could witness the problems related with the system's structure itself. Starting with the United Nations Security Assembly, the global security architecture is now inevitably to be reformed. And this reform will not only help all those in crises, and is not also our only responsibility for those who lost their lives in the wars, but also our responsibility for all our children. For the peace and welfare of the whole world, we will continue reminding that the world is bigger than five. Turkey has been observing its 70th anniversary of its membership to NATO. With its diplomatic and military power, Turkey is working for the building of peace and stability, and Turkey has perseverance and also determination for that. I would like to thank to the host country, Belgium, and Brussels administration and authorities, and also the Secretary General of NATO, my dear friend Mr. Stoltenberg, for having organized this Leaders Summit. Thank you all very much. Greetings, everyone. Ella Cezanne from Haber Global. Mr. President, you also mentioned that Turkey assumed a mediation role in between Turkey and Russia, and Turkey also is the only country that talks to the NATO alliance. You have a lot of diplomacy activities ongoing. At this summit, have there been some expectations of Turkey from NATO, and what were them, Mr. President? We have not only concentrated on a language that is focused on Turkey, but also there have been many countries that expressed their gratitude for Turkey. With Mr. Putin and with Mr. Zelensky, we will, after this point on, also have talks. And all our effort is to bring the two leaders together, in particular, so that we can create the atmosphere of peace. And in Belarus, the process is ongoing, and a technical setting is ongoing for the work to be undertaken for NATO disarmament, for collective security, as well as usage of Russia as the official language, are some of the issues about which there's almost an alliance. However, when it comes to Crimea and Donbass, it is almost not possible for Ukraine to think positively about that. And as Zelensky rightly said, an understanding to bring it down to a referendum is only a decision that the people of Ukraine can make. So this shows a very wise example of leadership by Mr. Zelensky. Onur Doğan from Theater World. Mr. President, Ukraine has made a demand for Turkey to be a guarantor country. Was this matter raised in the meetings today, Mr. President? And Russia declared the conditions it offers for ceasefire. Under these conditions, is it possible to talk about a lasting ceasefire, Mr. President? Thank you very much. Distinguished friends, these talks are, as you know, still are ongoing. There are some technical dimension related with the talks, and this is rather to do with the process ongoing in Belarus. However, Zelensky also made a request, a demand in our talks, and he himself asked for Turkey to assume a role of mediation, and Russia has not approached this matter negatively. And the talks carried out with the foreign ministers, we saw that they have a positive stance towards that proposal. And I hope that in the next meetings with the leaders, if there is a positive proposal or demand for Turkey's possible mediation, we are already ready for that. This could be in Ankara or Istanbul or any other province of Turkey. So we said to them as well that we are ready to take such a step ahead in all those places. From ATV, my name is Sultan Akdoğan. Mr. President, in your speech, you also mentioned that Turkey has been running a very busy policy of diplomacy, and Turkey has been exerting a lot of efforts for peace building. So Turkey has turned this into its politics for peace building. What was the feedback like from the leaders at the meeting about Turkey's efforts, Mr. President? With the leaders in our bilateral meetings, we by the way, heard how warm the relations that Turkey created with relevant parties are, and what kind of a positive approach Turkey has been exhibiting. And at the Leaders Summit, also there were thanks for Turkey. Of course, all the contact, all the hot contact we have had with the leaders of both Now, of course, drawing people's attention, and we will continue with our stance. Remember, in the beginning of the war, in the press meeting, what we said that we will continue being in contact with Mr. Putin in a positive fashion, and this will go the same for our contact with Mr. Zelensky. So ours has always been politics of peace, because a method that is not of peace politics will not make win, but only lose. So our hope is that we will continue seeking after that, and also make peace through that. And to be able to achieve that, we will continue exerting all the efforts we can. Enver Kaptanoğlu is my name. I'm from CNN Turk. Mr. President, right before this summit, your French with your French counterpart, Emmanuel Macron, you had a meeting. Can you give us some information about the content of your meeting with the president? Dear friends, as you know, France is now on the election track, and we, with Mr. Macron, in our meeting rather talked about this war in between Ukraine and Russia, mainly. However, other than that, we, as regards Turkey-France relations in politics, economy, military, culture, and many other relevant areas, exchanged opinions, talked about the progress we have covered and what we can do in the future. We talked about those in great detail, and the meeting was very constructive, very beneficial. And I hope that depending on the developments in the post-elections period, we will continue with Turkey-France relations as such. Erdem Analan is my name. I'm from Sabah newspaper. At the joint declaration of this summit, warnings were issued both for Russia and even China, and also a cause for a ceasefire. When it comes to imposing heavier sanctions, do you think this will be a solution? Turkey's peace politics and neutral stance. Do you think, Mr. President, this will be a model for others to take as an example? Distinguished friends, the visible truth is that almost all, the majority of NATO states do act on sanctions, because there is an opinion that methods other than sanctions will not help, as many leaders think. So that's why this is the spirit and the final declaration of the summit. All right then. Thank you very much.